Hi y'all, welcome to my shop. I'm Mike Peace and I'm passionate about wood turning, and I'm here to share tips, tricks, and techniques and projects to help you become a wood turner. If this is something you're interested in, hit the subscribe button and notification bell so you don't miss any future videos. Many wood turners rely almost exclusively on a chainsaw for cutting the blanks, and if you do primarily larger bowls and hollow forms, that may work for you. But if you turn a wide variety of stuff, you're going to need a bandsaw. Shortly before I retired, I bought a 14-inch Delta bandsaw, and it generally met my needs. But when I got it, I bought this book on this bandsaw handbook by Mark Duginsky, and most of the stuff I knew about a bandsaw I learned out of this book. Let me cover a few bandsaw blade basics that I've learned since then through research and experience. Now, this is what I've come up with that works for me. Your experience is based on your experience, and the cutting that you do may very well be different. And if you got comments, please leave them in the comments below. I'm anxious to hear from you. My 14-inch was adequate for cutting wood after I added a riser block, but since then I've upgraded to an 18-inch, which is a little more suitable for some of the larger stock breakdown that I do on the bandsaw. Alright, let's look at some of those basics. Number one, there is no ideal saw blade that will deal with all your requirements. They're all a compromise, and it's based on what you're primarily cutting. Using the right blade for the task at hand will make your cutting safer and will prolong the use of that blade. The thicker the stock, the coarser the blade that should be used. Cutting finer, smoother cuts takes more teeth, but more teeth don't work very well at all for greenwood because they're too fine. They can't clear the chips fast enough, and they have a tendency to overheat. As a wood turner cutting rough stock, we're not really that concerned about how coarse the cut it is. If the cut is not real smooth, it's not going to make a lot of difference because we're going to turn it away. We want a blade that's going to be able to rip stock. We want a blade that will cut across cross-cut a blank to length. A blade that will cut multigrain, that is side grain, with a grain, side grain, for bowl blanks and platter blanks. And lastly, we want one that'll cut with the grain, like the blank shown at the beginning of the video, standing on end. There are three priorities. Curves are more easily cut with a narrower blade. Straight cuts call for a wider blade. A 3/8" blade will cut something as small as this 3-inch circle, say for a box, whereas a 1/2-inch blade couldn't cut anything any smaller than 5 inches in diameter. A 3/4-inch blade can't cut anything smaller in diameter than that 11-inch diameter bowl template. Now, most consumer grade 14-inch saws can't handle anything larger than that 1/2 inch that might cut this, because the 14-inch bandsaw has a difficult time getting enough tension to handle a blade larger than 1/2 inch. 3/8" blade causes less friction than a wider blade. Now, the next priority is the number of teeth per inch, or the pitch or tooth spacing. We want an aggressive three teeth per inch in order to accomplish the cuts to that green wood. Finer than that, we won't be able to clear the debris fast enough, and it tends to clog and overheat. The next item is the tooth form. That refers to the shape of the tooth and this gullet. On a 3 teeth per inch, we've got a very deep rounded gullet. On a standard blade, the gullet tends to be straight and not as deep and rounded as this one. So the tooth form refers to the shape. So with the 3 tooth per inch, we've got a hook tooth. So the teeth are set out to the side, and that winds up creating a wider wider kerf than a standard blade, which doesn't have a rake set. Think of a standard blade without the offset teeth, and you're only going to cut the width of the blade itself. So you're going to have a narrower kerf. Now there are three different teeth sets. There's standard, skip, and hook tooth. Standard makes a smooth cut. That would be this type of profile. And the rake is generally going to a smooth cut with a finer, higher tooth count. The skipped blade is an all-purpose blade that works best for resawing and softer woods. I don't have a picture here in it, but it does not have a rake set. Remember, I said there was no perfect blade for all uses. The hook tooth has a form like this one. It also has that positive rake angle, which means that the teeth are offset, which cuts a wider kerf. The wider kerf takes less feed pressure, and that deeper gullet, rounded gullet, increases the efficiency, requiring less pressure, less tension, and a longer blade life. There's basically two kinds of blades. There's the carbon blade, which is the one that I use and recommend. The second one is a bimetal blade that is got a high-speed steel teeth that is bound to a softer backing. It's designed to primarily to cut metal and designed to cut at a slower speed. You can tension it much heavier. If you're not careful, you could over-tension a bandsaw using it and damage the bandsaw. I've never used one. It's favored by my friend Robo Hippie. They cost twice as much, but they do last longer. Now for my recommendation. I'm going to let you in on a secret. I didn't come to the perfect blade for me by doing a lot of research. Basically, I was perusing the Highland Woodworking catalog and ran across their Woodturners blade. Now, Highland Woodworking is a real fine, high-end woodworking store here in Atlanta. Their blade is 3/8 of an inch thick. It's 0.03, actually 3/8 of an inch wide. It's 0.032 inches thick compared to 0.025, which is typical of most bandsaw blades. So it's about 28% thicker. Has 3 teeth per inch with a deep gullet and a hook style, so it cuts a kerf, very aggressive in removing green wood. Now, before you start making comments that I'm promoting Highland Woodworking, I'm really not. I used a couple of their blades, was happy with them, but you can find that same blade probably from a lot of different vendors if you check. I order mine now over the internet from a vendor in North Carolina I'm real happy with. At almost half the price as buying them individually from Highland Woodworking. So I think you could find a blade with these same specifications that I've got on the screen from other vendors. But I will say I have not been able to find them on Amazon at a reasonable price. I have not been able to find them at Rockler or Woodcraft. So you're going to have to look a little bit to find them. But I suspect there's a lot of vendors out there that will sell you a bandsaw blade same spec. Just be careful. Make sure you know what you're asking for and buy what you want. Don't let a store sell you something, because you can wind up, if you're not careful, you'll wind up with a wrong blade. Now, for larger bandsaws, because 14 inch is the most popular, you have a wide variety of bandsaw blades for doing thinner stock, kiln-dried wood, resawing, and so on. And don't confuse a blade designed for resawing with one that's ideal for cutting green wood, because they're not the same specifications. So these are my thoughts. I welcome yours. Leave them in the comments below. I'll have a link here at the end for one of my earlier videos on breaking down logs into wood turning stock. Y'all stay safe and come on back here.